delighted to be here. It feels like family now. In fact, so much so, I brought my son with me. Where's Alex?
Right here.
Guy in the blue shirt. Just so you all know Alex, he's been my tech support since second grade. It's true. He runs his own little business now, but he's picked up a second line, and that is help your mother when she runs for President of the United States. So I thought what we'd do tonight is I would tell you a little bit about myself, tell you a little bit about what I'm in this race for, what I'm fighting for, and then we'll take some questions, and then if anybody wants to, I'll say as long as you want, we'll do selfies. So I was born and raised in Oklahoma. Oh, that couple, there aren't that many people in Oklahoma. Born and raised in Oklahoma, I have 3 much older brothers. I am what used to be called a late in life baby. My mother always just called me the surprise. And my 3 older brothers, who to this day are referred to as the boys, in order to distinguish them from the surprise. My 3 older brothers all went off and joined the military. My oldest brother, Don Reed, was career military. He spent about 5.5 years off and on in combat in Vietnam. We were very lucky to get him back home. My second brother, John, was stationed overseas for a little over a year. My 3rd brother, David, was trained as a combat medic, which actually has had an impact on our family. Anybody who chokes at Thanksgiving dinner, David is ready to perform an emergency tracheotomy. Yeah, we've had lots of excitement where people are saying, I'm fine, Uncle David, we're all good. I'm close to my 3 brothers. I love my 3 brothers. They're all retired, but all live back in Oklahoma now. When we were growing up, our daddy had a lot of different jobs. He sold paint, he sold carpet, he sold fencing, he sold housewares. And by the time I was in middle school, the boys were all gone by then. So it was just my mama and my daddy and me. And my daddy had a massive heart attack. And for a while, we thought we were going to lose it. He pulled through, but he couldn't work for a long, long time. And even now, I remember the day when we lost our family station wagon. I remember how my mother, every night, would tuck me into bed. She'd kiss me on the forehead, she'd pull up the blankets, pat them, she'd smile. And she'd walk outside my bedroom door and close it, and then I could hear her start to cry. Never wanted to cry in front of me. This was the time when I learned words like mortgage and foreclosure. And one day, I walked into my folks' bedroom, and laid out on the bed was the dress. Now, some of you in this room will know what the dress is. It's the one that only comes out for weddings, funerals, and graduations. And I saw the dress, and then I looked up and saw my mother. And she's at the end of the bed, pacing. And she's in her slip and her stocking feet, and she's saying, "We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house. We will not lose this house." She was 50 years old. She had never worked outside the home, and she was terrified. And she looked up, and she saw me standing in the doorway. I'm just a kid. And she didn't say a word. She looked at me, and she looked at that dress, and she looked at me, and she wiped her face. She pulled on that dress, she put on her high heels, and she walked to the Sears, where she got a full-time minimum wage job answering phones. That minimum wage job saved our house, and it saved our family. And it was the lesson my mother taught me, is no matter how scared you are, and no matter how hard it looks, when it comes down to it, you reach down deep, you find what you have to find, you pull it up, and you take care of the people you love. That's what she taught me. It was years later that I came to understand that wasn't just what my mother taught me. It's what millions of people do across this country every single day. No matter how scared they are, no matter how hard it looks, they reach down deep, they find what they have to find, they pull it up, and they take care of themselves and the people they love. That's what we do. But it was only years after that that I came to understand. That same story is also a story about government. Because when I was a kid, a full-time minimum wage job in America would support a family of 3. It would pay a mortgage, it would cover the utilities, and it would put food on the table. Today, a full-time minimum wage job in America will not keep a mama and a baby out of poverty. That is wrong, and that is why I am in this fight. And understand this, the difference is not just because time passed, it's not because of gravity. The difference is about who government works for. When I was a girl, the question asked in Washington about the minimum wage is, what does it take a family of 3 to survive? What does it take a family of 3 to get a toehold in America's middle class? What does it take a family of 3 to have some basic security so that they can build a solid future? Today, the question asked in Washington is, where do we set the minimum wage to maximize the profits of giant multinational corporations? Well, I don't want a government that works for giant multinational corporations. I want one that works for our families. So, like I said, all 3 of my brothers joined the military. That was their path. That was their chance to get into America's middle class. Me, I had a different path like that. I knew what I wanted to be starting in 2nd grade, and I've known ever since then, and I've never wavered from it. You laugh, you didn't decide until what, 4th grade? 5th grade is that? Okay, I get it. No, I've known what I wanted to be since 2nd grade. I wanted to be a public school teacher. Can we hear it for America's public? And I want you to know, I invested early. I used to line up my dollies and teach school. I had a reputation for being tough but fair. But it's all I wanted. By the time I graduated from high school, my family didn't have any money for a college application, much less to send me off to 4 years at university. So, like a lot of Americans, I don't have a straight line story. I have a story that has some twists and turns. So here's how my twists and turns go. I got a scholarship to college. Yay! Let's hear it for high school debaters, right? Yay! And then, at 19, I fell in love, got married, dropped out, and got a minimum said, it's over. We're living down in Texas. And then I found it. 45 minutes away, a commuter college that cost $50 a semester. Yeah. And for a price I could pay for on a part-time waitressing job, I finished my 4-year diploma and I became a special education teacher. Public school teachers in here? Oh, there we go. Any special ed? Yeah, there we go. So you can back me up on this, okay? It's not a job. It's a calling. I love that work. I had 4 to 6-year-olds, and to this day, I can remember what they looked like. I can remember things we worked on. I can remember successes. I can remember some not successes. And to this day, I would probably still be teaching, except my story has some more twists and turns. And that is, by the end of the first year, I was visibly pregnant. And the principal did what principals did in those days. He wished me luck and hired someone else for the job. So, there I am. I can't get a job, can't work. So, baby on hip, I decided to go to law school. By this time, we're living in New Jersey. I found a public law school, and it cost $450 a semester. I did 3 years of law school. By my final year, I was visibly pregnant. You will discover a pattern to these stories. Fortunately, that baby waited until after graduation. That was Alex. Thank you, son. Yes. Graduated from law school, and then with 2 little babies, I took the bar exam and passed, and I practiced law for 45 minutes. And then I went back to my first love, teaching. I traded little ones for big ones and spent most of my grown life teaching in law school. I also, in making changes in here, husband number 1. It's never a good sign when you have to number your husbands. Husband number 1 and I separated, but I found husband number 2 and I'm still with him. That's my husband. So here I am, teaching in law school, and I don't know, maybe this is what everybody does when you kind of grow up on the ragged edge of the middle class. But for me, I learned about and taught all of the courses about money. If it was about money, count me in. So I taught contract law and commercial law, I taught secure transactions, I taught payment systems, I taught debtor-creditor law, bankruptcy law, corporate finance, partnership finance, law and economics. If it was about money, I was in there, I was teaching. But there was always one central issue that I worked on, and that is, what's happening to America's middle class? What's happening to working families in this country? Why is America's middle class being hollowed out? And why is it that people, families, that work every bit as hard as my mother worked 2 generations ago, find the path today so much rockier and so much steeper? And for people of color, even rockier and even steeper. Why? And the answer is, it's like the answer around the minimum wage. It's who government works for. So think of it this way. We have a government that works fabulously, wonderfully, for giant drug companies. It's just not working for people who are trying to get a prescription filled. Can I have an amen on that? Think about it. We have a government that is working tremendously for people who want to invest in private prisons and private detention centers. It's just not working for the people whose lives are torn apart and whose communities are destroyed. We have a government that's working wonderfully for giant oil companies that want to drill everywhere. It's just not working for the rest of us who see climate change bearing down upon us. Government that works great for those with money and isn't working for much of anyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple, and we need to call it out for what it is. Corruption. And here's the deal. Whatever issue brought you here today, whether it's the price of prescription drugs, whether it's gun safety, whether it's education, whether it's student loans, whether it's climate, whatever issue brought you here today, if there is a decision to be made in Washington, I guarantee it's been influenced by money. It's been nudged by money. It's been moved by money. It's been shaped by money. Money, money, money. In fact, let me tell you a quick story around this. You know, you go back and look, in the early 1990s, we had the basics of what was happening on climate. We didn't have all the right words, we didn't have it quite down, but we had the big picture, that putting this much carbon into the air was enormously dangerous to this planet, that it threatened the very existence of life on this earth. We knew this. Here's the part you may not remember or may not know, and that is in Washington, Democrats and Republicans were working together. They were all interested in what do we need to do? Do we need to expand the authority of the Environmental Protection Agency? Do we need some new laws? Do we need to put more resources into cleanup? In other words, this wasn't a political issue. This was we got to worry about our country. We got to worry about our earth going forward. And then along came the Koch brothers. Oh, you've heard of the Koch brothers. Yes, along came the Koch brothers. Along came the big oil companies, the fossil fuel industry, the giant polluters. And in effect, they got together and said, if Congress is serious about this climate business, if they really start changing the regulations, they really start making some changes here, that's going to cut into our profits. And so they said, we got an investment decision to make here. Now, what are their options? They could have said, you know what? We see the handwriting on the wall. We are going to stop investing in fossil fuels. We're going to move to clean it. No, they didn't do that. They could have said, we're going to invest in R&D and put our R&D money into how to clean carbon out of the air and carbon out of the water. They didn't do that. What did they invest in? They invested in politicians. They invested in Washington. They invested in getting what they wanted. In fact, they did it not just through campaign contributions, lobbyists, PR firms, right? They did it through these bought and paid for think tanks, and the bought and paid for experts. You know, I think it's the climate experts who deny climate that are the ones that really get to me about this. You know, these are the guys who stand up and say, I'm a doctor. And I don't know about this climate thing. I mean, after all, it was good for the dinosaurs and great for growing salad or, you know, whatever it is. They say that. And you need to stop and think, why were people funding that? To put that, to elevate it, to put it up on the air? You know what the answer is? They did it because there was one thing the climate deniers could do. They built an umbrella that the politicians could hide under. The politicians could then keep taking money from the Koch brothers, could keep taking money from the big oil companies, could keep taking money from the big polluters and say, gee, I don't know, I'm not a scientist. If you want to understand the climate crisis we face today, it is 25 years of corruption in Washington that brought us here. So the effect of money is everywhere in Washington. It's influencing decisions everywhere. And if we are going to fight back, it's not going to be enough to say one little statute over here, a couple of regulations over there. It's going to take big structural change. Big structural change, and I'll tell you where to start. We need to attack the corruption head on. Head on. We've been on our back foot long enough. So here's the good news. I have the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. That's a good thing. Here's the bad news. We need the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. It's true. So this is a plan, you wouldn't be surprised. If money's felt in a lot of different ways, this plan has got a lot of different moving parts to it. So let me just give you a sample. I'm just going to pull out some of the pieces. Here's one. End lobbying as we know it. Block the revolving door between Wall Street and Washington. Here's one you may never have thought about. Make the United States Supreme Court follow basic rules of ethics on content. Okay, I could do these all day. But let me just give you one more. You really want to hose out some corruption in Washington? Here's a way. Every candidate who runs for federal office should have to put their tax returns online. So there's part one. Attack the corruption head on. Knock it back, right? Stop playing defense. Let's go on offense. Let's get in there and disrupt it. Because we do that, there's so much more we could do. So here's part two. We need some structural change in our economy. Here's the problem we've got. These giant corporations that have eaten up little businesses, eaten up medium-sized businesses, they've eaten up what used to be called big businesses. And they just keep getting bigger and more powerful. And what happens in industry after industry now? We've got these giants who just roll over their own employees, roll over their customers, roll over the communities where they're located, and call the tune in Washington. It's time for a president with the courage to enforce the antitrust laws and break these guys up. Break up big ag. Break up big tech. Break up big pharma. It's time. But we have to do more. I think of it this way, as kind of balance in the system. Yeah, we need a government and a government with the courage to enforce the laws, but there's more. We need more power in the hands of workers. And that means make it easier to join a union and give unions more power. structural change in the economy. Here's another one. It's time for a wealth tax in America. And I got a plan for that. So let me tell you how it works. Here's the idea. Your first $50 million is free and clear. Yeah, I see people are saying, oh, I can deal with this one. Good. First 50 million is free and clear. But on your 50 millionth and first dollar, you gotta pitch in 2 cents.
Yay!
And 2 cents on every dollar after that. And just so you all get how a wealth tax works, anybody in here own a home, grow up in a family that owned a home or a farm, right? You guys have been paying a wealth tax. It's just called a property tax. The only thing I want that's different is to say, for the folks who've got more than $50 million in assets, it's not just your real estate. It's also your stock portfolio, the diamonds, the Rembrandt, and the yacht. You just gotta include it. Now look, I know there are some billionaires who are really freaked out by this. Boo-hoo. No, but I'm not proposing this because I'm cranky. I'm not mad. They say things like, well, we worked hard. Great, so did a lot of other people. But look, you worked hard, you had a great idea, good for you. You made it big, that's fabulous, good for you. But here's the deal. You built a great fortune in America. And understand this, what I'm talking about in these fortunes, 50 million and above, that is the top 1/10 of 1%. Okay, so you built a great fortune in America. I guarantee you built it at least in part using workers all of us help pay to educate. Getting your goods to market on roads and bridges, all of us help pay the bill. You built it, at least in part, protected by police and firefighters, all of us help pay the salaries for. And we are glad to do it. We're Americans. We want to make these investments so people have a chance to make it big. All we're saying is if you make it big, I mean really big, I mean top 1/10 of 1% big, pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it. 2 cents. And here's the deal. What can we do with 2 cents? Here's where it gets to be fun. 2 cents, we can provide universal child care for every baby in this country aged 0 to 5. Universal pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in America. And we can stop exploiting the women, largely black and brown women, who do this work by raising the wages of every preschool teacher and child care worker in America. We can do all of that, and we can do so much more. We can quadruple our funding that goes into K-12 for children that grow up in low-income households. Let's give them a real chance in life. We can triple our funding for children with disabilities so they have a real opportunity to learn in our country. And we can put $100 billion into all of our public schools. That averages out to about $1 million for each of our public schools, for those schools to make the decision how to spend the money to make them excellent schools for every child they teach. All of that, and I'm still riding on the same 2 cents. We can do all of that, plus we can provide tuition-free technical school to your college and for your college for everyone who wants to get an education. We can help level the playing field and put $50 billion directly into our historically black colleges and universities. And I'm still not through. That same 2 cents, we can do every bit of that, plus we can cancel student loan debt for 95% of the folks who don't. I know you didn't come here today thinking you were going to have to do a math problem, but I want you to think about that. 2 cents on the fortunes above $50 million, that's about 70,000 fortunes in this country. 2 cents can provide the opportunity to invest in every single person for an entire generation. Right there. That is structural change in an economy. Structural change, because I think it's important. And it starts with a basic, just for me, just kind of a statement of values. After a lifetime of hard work, people should be able to retire with dignity, and that means protecting Social Security. And I got a plan for that. And here's how it goes. An increase in payroll taxes for the top 2% will give us enough money to extend the financial viability of Social Security for decades to come, plus a $200 a month increase for every person who receives Social Security or disability right now. Think about that. We can lift almost 5 million people out of poverty, and we can provide some flexibility in the budgets for millions and millions more. We just have to get out there and fight for it. So for me, there it is. 2 things. 1, attack the corruption head on. 2, make some structural change in this economy. Part 3, we've got to protect our democracy. Amendment to protect the right of every American citizen to vote and to get that vote counted. We need a federal law to ban political gerrymandering. It's time to roll back every racist voter suppression law in this country. And just one more. Overturn Citizens United democracy. So there it is. I just want 3 things. Attack the corruption, get some structural change in the economy, and protect our democracy. And I know those might sound like 3 disconnected things, but they're not. They're deeply tied to each other. For me, they address the fundamental question about who gets opportunity in this country. Do we want to be a country where opportunity is available only to those born into privilege? Or do we want to be the country that is about opportunity for everyone? The opportunity for every single kid in America to get a first-rate education. Opportunity to get a good job, opportunity to start your own business, opportunity to move back to the family farm or to start farming, opportunity. Remember, I'm a special needs teacher. I get that opportunity means different things to different people. Opportunity may mean an opportunity to live independently. Those are investments worth making. Opportunity to love the person you love and build the family you want to build. Not in a million years did I think I would ever run for public office. Just didn't think so. But here's the deal. I'm here because of opportunity. My daddy, he ended up as a janitor, but his baby daughter got the opportunity to be a public school teacher, the opportunity to be a college professor, the opportunity to be a United States Senator, and the opportunity to be a candidate for President of the United States.